versus the Mavericks for the first time since the trade, which is kind of crazy that it's happening so fast. And is Cade Cunningham a future MVP in the league? So let's talk about it. So first let's talk about Luka playing the Mavericks because that is going to be an insane game tomorrow. I don't even know, well, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, it is at the Lakers arena rather than at the Mavs arena, which if that first game was at the Mavs arena right now, based on like the fact that the trade barely even settled in yet, and the fact that AD is still out, I don't know. I don't know what Mavs fans would do. Like they would go crazy. They're already going crazy to begin with, right? But like, can you imagine them playing at the Mavs arena after like 2 weeks of this trade? That I don't think the NBA would be ready for that. So anyway, I believe it is happening at the Lakers arena. So that is definitely better for the Mavs organization, so to speak, because again, craziness would have happened. So anyway, so Luka is getting his first matchup versus the Mavericks. And if you don't think that Luka is going to go crazy and drop like 40 points, at least, I don't know. Like, Luka is going to be on a mission. I know that he's still getting back into basketball shape, of course. And so that is part of, why he hasn't been putting up the same numbers that he had prior to his injury because he's been out for a really long time. And he's also, fitting into a brand new team where you have LeBron. Like, I know that technically we all expect Luka to be the number one option now, which is kind of crazy when you have LeBron. But like, we do all expect him to be the number one option, right? But the fact of the matter is it's a brand new team. Like, he's never played with all these players before, so he's still learning and stuff like that. Even though last game, we saw his Luka magic, as they call it, right? So I do believe that they are going to feed him the ball like crazy. Like LeBron, the entire roster is just going to tell Luka, go do what you do, right? And so don't be surprised if we see Luka dropping 40 points at the minimum on the Mavericks. Like, again, he's still getting his basketball shape, so if he doesn't drop 40, I'm not like disappointed because it's not like he's fully back in shape. But I wouldn't be surprised if he even dropped 50 on them. Like, he's going to say, I'll show you, right? Like, that's what's going to happen. Someone said, yay, so happy you're live. Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. I'm glad that you are enjoying this live stream. So I do expect Luka to go off versus the Mavericks. Who's going to win that game? I mean, I guess we would expect the Lakers to win because the Mavericks are obviously missing Anthony Davis, who was the player they traded Luka for, in addition to Daniel Gafford being out and Derek Lively. So although the Lakers, their weakness and something that a lot of people, have talked about is their lack of, rim protection and front court protection and stuff like that. They don't have to worry about that with the Mavericks right now because the Mavericks are missing literally all their centers. All of them. So, like, the advantage that the Mavericks would have over the Lakers is non-existent right now. So, with that being said, and again, just not having AD in general, not even just the fact that he's, a front court player, but just the talent that he is, it's hard to pick the Lakers to lose this game, right? Like, you can just feel that the tension is going to be high. And so I do expect the Lakers to beat the Mavericks tomorrow. But that is definitely going to be must-see TV. I will be watching every minute. I would expect Luka to get the first shot. Like, everything is going to be about Luka, right? So that's the first thing. The other thing is we got to talk about the Detroit Pistons. Why? Because they just won 7 in a row. And they are in, I think, 6th place right now in the Eastern Conference. And I believe winning 7 in a row is the first time they've done that in a decade. They have not won 7 in a row in a decade. And this team, I think, finished last year with the worst record in the NBA. Literally, maybe in the Western Conference there was a team with less, but I don't think so. They were at the bottom of the conference, right? And they lost like 26 in a row last year. Remember that? It was some kind of record. I don't know if it was an NBA record, if it was like a Pistons franchise record, whatever it was. They were losing games like crazy. And, part of that was the fact that Cade was out. I don't remember if he played. I know he played a couple of games. I think he got hurt like 10 games into the season or something like that. I don't remember if he ended up coming back at the end of the season, but he was definitely out for, some period of time. Anyway, so now Cade is healthy. Cade is an all-star and playing the way that, I feel like a lot of us or some of us thought he would be playing because he was the number 1 pick. And I do remember in that draft, there was a lot of people kind of not high on Cade. People were saying he was the number 1 pick by default, clearly, but they didn't expect him to be an all-star in the league. That was kind of some of the talk around Cade. That he was going to be a good player, but there wasn't even all-star potential on him, according to some people. Some people thought that, but some people didn't think that. So, with that being said, Cade Cunningham tonight, I believe, had another 30 piece, which is not surprising. He had 36 and 7 or whatever he ended up, whatever his stat line was. And, by the way, for the season, Cade is averaging almost 10 assists per game. He's almost averaging a double-double. I know we talk about that with Jokic and stuff like that because he's always, averaging close to 10 assists a game, if not more. And Luka as well, he's that type of player. Cade Cunningham is literally doing that as well. And he's averaging 25, 26 points per game, whatever it is. So we are witnessing a player growing and getting better right before our very eyes, super fast. And this Pistons team is legit. Are they going to win the championship this year? Obviously not, right? They're not winning the title this year as currently constructed. They're too young. They, need more experience and they need to obviously, develop more. And that's not any shade to them. It's just, that's the way it goes in the NBA, right? But this Pistons team, they're nice. And let's talk about Ausar Thompson because, listen, I know we talk about Amen Thompson a lot just because he has been awesome, so awesome on the Rockets. But Ausar Thompson, too. And you know what? I have to go back and look, but I made a video last year talking about the 2028 NBA All-Star. I think it was 2028 that I did. NBA All-Star predictions. Way too early NBA All-Star predictions. You know who I put in that video? Cade Cunningham, which, again, shouldn't be a super surprise, but some people didn't even think he would get to this point, right? I had Cade Cunningham, and I had Amen Thompson. I was Amen Thompson and his brother. I think I left Ausar off. I might have put him on there, but I don't remember. I think I left Ausar off because I was running out of spots, and I'm I had to pick one or the other, and I did think that Amen, if I had to pick between the two, Amen was going to be slightly better than him. And so I put Amen Thompson on there, and so I wouldn't be surprised if Amen Thompson will be an all-star at that point because look how he's playing, right? But talking about going back to Ausar, he's having a great season too. Now, his numbers are not anything that you would, look at and be whoa, he's not averaging, 20 points per game or anything super crazy. But he's always doing all the right things. There are so many highlights from both of them, but there are so many highlights from Ausar this year on the Pistons. Every time you look, he's doing a putback dunk, he's blocking a shot, he's doing something. And he's everywhere. He is literally everywhere on the court. It's actually crazy. So shout out to the Pistons. They have been really, really good this year. They have stepped up their game. And it's nice to see them be relevant and not be at the bottom of the conference because that is where they've been for quite a while. And, if you're a Pistons fan, that must have been rough to have to, witness the team be at the bottom every single year for however many years it's been, right? It's been a rough stretch for the Pistons. And so now this is really, fun to see and exciting. So I am happy for, Pistons fans and, just to be able to start winning games and, make the playoffs. They're going to make the playoffs as currently constructed. So shout out to Pistons fans. That's very exciting. And then the last thing I want to talk about is Andre Iguodala, who just got his jersey retired by the Golden State Warriors. Now, if you didn't know, this happened yesterday, I think it was. It was yesterday. Yeah, it was yesterday. Okay. I just wanted to confirm. Yesterday, and this was against the Dallas Mavericks, which, we just talked about the Dallas Mavericks. but they were playing the Mavericks and they retired his jersey after the game. And there was some, talk about how the fact that Rob Pelinka and Nico Harrison were there. Now, Rob Pelinka, I'm like 99.9% positive, used to be Andre Iguodala's agent at one point. I'm pretty sure he has. And I'll explain how I know that. But like, he was Andre Iguodala's agent, so that's why he was there. So it wasn't like Nico Harrison and Rob Pelinka were just hanging out, right? It wasn't that. It was that Iggy was getting his jersey retired, and so Rob Pelinka, was there for that. And because they were playing the Mavericks, that is why Nico Harrison, was at the game, right? Anyway, so Andre Iguodala, I don't talk about him a lot on this page because obviously, he's retired and, he just hasn't had, I don't know, I just haven't talked about him much for whatever reason. I've talked about him a couple of times, but not a ton. But I am like one of the biggest fans of Andre Iguodala. He is one of my favorite players ever. Seriously. I have his book. When he, made his book and released his book, I got the book and I read the book. I was so excited. And I like the book, by the way. If you haven't read Andre Iguodala's book, I definitely recommend it. I think it's well written. And so anyway, so I'm a big Andre Iguodala fan. I will not hide that. I am a big fan of his. And so in his book, he talks about Rob Pelinka. That's how I put two and two together because I just remembered. In the book, he talks about when he was coming out of college. I'm trying to remember exactly what he said in the book because it's been a long time since I read it. But in the book, he was talking about Rob Pelinka being his agent. And I think he went to Chicago to do some workouts for the summer with Michael Jordan's trainer, right? I'm pretty positive this is what the story was in his book. And he went to do these workouts and he said whatever the first workout was, I don't remember what it was, he was so exhausted after the first one, he felt like he couldn't even finish the workout. And it was just the first workout. Correct me if I'm wrong again, it's been a long time since I read the book, but I think that's what he said in the book. And that's when he knew this is different. The NBA is different, right? Because I think Rob Pelinka set it up for him to go to Chicago to do these summer workouts with Michael Jordan's trainer or ex-trainer, whatever. Anyway, so the point is, Andre Iguodala got his jersey retired. And that is very nice to see because he is someone who definitely deserves his jersey to be retired. Andre Iguodala's impact on the Warriors during their dynasty, you could say they're still technically in their dynasty because they could win another championship this year, but I'm saying the dynasty with Iggy, when he was there, he was so important to those championship runs. Now, he does get some credit. I won't say that people don't give him credit, but I don't think people understand how important he was to that team. Because at that point, he was not putting up crazy numbers, because he was obviously the fourth option at best to Steph, Clay, and then Draymond. Draymond obviously was never, I guess you could say that Iggy was the third option scoring, maybe. But no, you wouldn't say that because you would say Harrison Barnes was, right? So regardless, or even Kevin Durant, obviously, when he got there. So anyway, so Andre Iguodala at that point, was coming off the bench and was not going to play 40 minutes a game every time, although he definitely did close some games and play 40 minutes a game plenty in the playoffs. And so Andre Iguodala did so many things for that team, especially IQ-wise. And if you go back and watch the playoffs or games when Andre Iguodala was in the game, he would calm them down. I don't know how to explain it, but obviously we were all watching the Warriors when they were on this crazy dynastic run. And if things started to get out of control or chaotic, which obviously they kind of play a bit chaotic, in a good way. But if things started to get a little bit out of control, Andre Iguodala would come in the game and settle them down every time. I can't explain how he did that, but he just did. He would come in and it would just be everything went back to playing perfect basketball again. He was so smart on defense. He is Okay, so we talk about Drew Holiday, by the way, being one of the top tier defenders in the NBA. And Drew Holiday knows how to defend without fouling. That's what makes him so special, right? Like, he can just like slide his feet and stay in front of you and like keep his hands like in your way, but like not actually foul you, right? He's really good at that. Andre Iguodala was the same way. If you go back, if you just type in like Andre Iguodala clean steals, like swiping the ball out of people's hands, I don't know how he did it. He did it every time, constantly. In the playoffs, too, there are so many moments. The one I always remember is the one on Damian Lillard. It was at the end of the game. They were playing the Blazers in the playoffs. And I believe if Dame made that shot, the Blazers either would have won that game or would have tied and went to overtime. But, like, it was, like, one of the last shots. And Dame has the ball, and Andre Iguodala swipes down and gets all ball, clean, no foul. And he did that all the time, literally all the time. Like, I'm telling you, go type it in, you'll see it. That was like his most famous, well, to me, it was his most famous play because I don't know how he did it without fouling every single time. And so with that being said, as you could tell by this little rant, now you know how much of a fan I am of Andre Iguodala because, like, I just think he's an awesome player. He's a winner. He's so smart. He always played the game the right way. And the fact that he didn't have a huge ego, and I'm sure it wasn't easy for him, but accepting to come off the bench, because if you remember, back in 2015 when they won the championship, you know, before that he was always a starter, right? Like, he was not a coming off the bench type of guy. And so when Steve Kerr asked him to come off the bench and he accepted that, I'm sure it kind of set a tone in the locker room, like basically being like, if this guy is technically a starter in the entire league or on like 29 other teams, and he's accepting a bench role for the betterment of the team, then we all have to fall in line, right? But I'm just saying, like, the fact that he took it, and again, may have been difficult at first and stuff like that, but the fact that he took it, and I never saw him obviously maybe behind the scenes he was upset, right? But like, we never saw him complain about it or anything like that because guess what? He still got to play a ton of minutes. He still got to have an important role. He still got to close games. He still got to do everything, and he got to win Finals MVP, which is so exciting. So shout out to Andre Iguodala because he deserved that jersey retirement. So thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this live, and see you soon. Bye!